upon a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Live on Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. Hope you're having a lovely, lovely day. I have not been live that much in about 2 weeks. Mix of having coronavirus myself and resting up and trying to get better, which I'm starting to feel much, much better, as well as kind of the home stretch of several bombshell stories status coup has broken alongside other outlets in the last few days. We just broke another big one today, so we're going to get into all of it today. I hope everyone's okay and not sick and all those things. I see that YouTube, it's so interesting on YouTube, you know? Even when your subscribers are going up, thanks to Crystal Ball had us on, so we got some new subscribers from that. We were on with Jimmy Dore, so we got some new subscribers with that. Even though your subscribers go up, for some reason, all of a sudden we go live to less viewers. It's almost like YouTube is hiding us in a cave. It's almost like YouTube is hiding us in a cave. I speak with people all the time. They don't even see videos in their feed from Status Coup. When we're live, they don't even see that we're live. So please, 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 press the like button, and the like button right under the video, and press the share button. Get this out to as many people as possible. I'm feeling a lot better, coughing here and there, but definitely not what I was a couple days ago when I was hacking my lungs out. No fever, no breathing problems. So hopefully, I'm gonna go get retested. I guess at some point. But it feels like I'm over coronavirus. So I will be going live again, my normal schedule. It's extremely hard to go live every single day and do investigative reporting. In the last 3 days, I have literally been doing 17 things at once to break these stories. So hopefully, thank you for bearing with us. I wish I could be live every day, but when we are fundamentally a independent investigative outlet, so we definitely need time to investigate. Jen is not in this super chat because she is blasting our big story. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? We just broke this afternoon with the Detroit Metro Times, so we appreciate the Detroit Metro Times for actually printing the truth. As I've been realizing, most outlets in Michigan, and of course most outlets in the United Corporations of America, aren't particularly fond of printing the truth. So, for those of you that don't know, Saturday, so 2 days from now, is the statute of limitations. The statute of limitations for new charges in the Flint water case. New charges in terms of misconduct in office. In Michigan, misconduct in office, which is a felony, is a 6-year window to charge. So the Flint water crisis on Saturday turns 6 years old. So Saturday is the 6-year statute of limitations for new charges to be filed if the Attorney General and her team of Michigan want to file charges, misconduct in office charges. Quite a few of the charges that were charged in recent years in the criminal investigation were misconduct in office. So it's a pretty big deal. The Attorney General, in response to my story, put out a statement. It was a little odd because the statement was kind of didn't really react to my story by name, but it was the next day and kind of in reaction to Jen and my story. And they kind of like muddied the water. They said there was a misconception as far as when the statute of limitations are. I don't really know what they're talking about because these are the same prosecutors and the same Attorney General that went to Flint last June. Here's the article. They went to Flint last June after they dropped all the charges. There were 8 defendants left, including the head of the state health department and the chief medical executive. And they told, you can't make this stuff up. The new prosecution team said they had as little as 9 months to bring additional charges because of the statute of limitations. So this was in June. They said 9 months till the statute of limitations. Now they're saying, oh, yeah, no, it's a misconception. Statute of limitations isn't Saturday. And I can't tell you, I mean, Jen and I have been working our tails off to get people to share this. And they keep, a lot of people with brains and big followings are like, but the Attorney General said it's not Saturday. All I can tell you is I've read the Michigan law, and the statute of limitations for felony misconduct in office charges is Saturday. So 2 days left. So obviously, hopefully you haven't been living under a rock, but Jen and I broke this huge story last week with Vice. It's a really long story, but the nuts and bolts of it are, Jen and I worked on it for over a year. We found out that Governor Rick Snyder of Michigan, now the former governor, was warned over a year before the water was switched in Flint. He was warned that the water in Flint, if you use the Flint River as a water source, there's bacterial risks and there is risks of carcinogens. He allowed the proceedings to go forward anyway. By the way, this is a super chat, so we really appreciate super chats. Swirly Swirl, $10. I live in Indiana near the Michigan border, and Michigan people are coming down here to shop without PPE or social distancing. We have started seeing an increase in cases in my county next week. I am going to get into coronavirus today as well. So thank you. By the way, I'm going to bring this up a little bit later, but we did just raise our GoFundMe goal. If you recall, we originally had $85,000 as our GoFundMe goal. We reached that a while ago. We weren't promoting the GoFundMe after that because we had already reached our goal and we didn't particularly want to move the goalpost to more, but we kept getting donations anyway. So Jen and I were discussing, and this investigative reporting has taken me away from live streaming, which costs us a good amount of money when I'm not live streaming every day. And frankly, because we can't travel like we have been because of the restrictions with COVID, we've been losing money. I'm just gonna be flat. We've been losing money even though we're breaking big stories. So obviously we totally get it. If you got laid off, if money's tight, if you can't contribute, no problem. If you can, we have raised our goal to $110,000. We're about to hit in the next $5, $95,000. So if it's within your means, I humbly say, we have done more than just talk the talk. We have been walking the walk and breaking major stories no one else is touching. And by the way, I'll be naming names today of all the progressive heroes that are just missing in action and completely silent on one of the biggest environmental cover-ups of the 21st century. I think our audience deserves to know who is for real about caring for poison people and who are a bunch of frauds. And I've been nice, and I've been patient, and I've messaged with their assistants, I've messaged with their producers, I've messaged with a whole host of people. To tell you the truth, it's damn hard to find out confidential information and tell you the news and break stories. But the harder part, ironically and sadly, is getting the people who should be amplifying this with much bigger platforms than I, Jen, and Status Coup that are too busy promoting themselves. Take a guess, some of the people I'm talking about. So we're going to get to all of this and more because I'm in a mood to share. I've had enough of the faux aggressives out there who care about Flint and places like it when it makes them look good, when it boosts their egos, when they get put on TV. But then when journalists break major news, they're nowhere to be found. Isn't that interesting? Nowhere to be found. And you want to know something? If by me calling them out, it hurts their feelings, good. If by me calling them out, it hurts his ego, good. I don't give a damn. Because you want to know, those people who I'm going to call out, they might think it's a little harsh. You know what I think is pretty harsh? I think this is pretty harsh. So this one we've seen, it's basically like white splotches. Can we see this one again?
After we got out the tub, her hands were still wet and she rubbed her face. Her face had actually wept up, and then it just left that mark.
So that was from her hand?
That stuff that was right here, the stuff right here was all over her face. Her ears even had tore up. And the inside real bad on both sides.
Yeah, it looks like a mix of blisters and
she actually was peeling nails, so.
We'll stay on it. I'm sorry this is happening to you.
I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I'm devastated. I really just want to go to the city and just go off. Like, I cry every day because my baby's skin break out. And I feel like that's just not right. They shouldn't have to go through this. These babies don't deserve that. And then y'all stop the water giving out. Why? That wasn't even a smart situation to do. But hey, y'all think it's good? More power to y'all. Because it's infecting every kid around here. My son went from knowing everything to just having to repeat himself several times to understand what I'm saying. And if it's frustrating when you sit and you work hard with your kids and they forget stuff. But the city don't care. Or they worried about stopping the water, getting new police cars, helicopters and stuff like that, when y'all need to be worried about these babies out here who parents can't get to water, or y'all trying to make it every 2 days we can get water. I don't have a vehicle to go get water, so once I run out, I'm back to drinking this water, or my kids back in this water. I done called 211 several times to see if I can get water, and I can't get help. I was even willing to call CPS on myself so that I can get help with water back and forth.
Did anyone answer?
No. So once I run out.
That was Jasmine Lee, and it was from 2018. Jen and I were in Flint in 2018, 2 months after then Michigan Governor Rick Snyder basically declared mission accomplished in Flint. He declared the water quote unquote restored back then. He shut down the remaining Flint water pods that the residents there, like Jasmine, depended on. So Jen and I were knocking on doors, old school journalism that doesn't happen anymore. This was before status quo was even a thing. We were just crowdfunding. We didn't have any members or anything like that. Most of it was on our dime, and we lost money doing it. It was summer, it was hot, but we did it because we care. And let me just make something clear, because shockingly, thank you, Seth Peterson, $20 in the super chat. Thank you, Tim Towdy Fall, $10. Call out the supposed progressives, not just on their silence on Flint, but also they're still not fighting for the people during the pandemic. it's coming. Don't you worry. It's coming. And by the way, we are down to 1,880 members. We've lost a bunch of members because of COVID. We get it. If you're not a member yet, this is what you're paying for. 16 cents a day. You could become a Status Coup member. That's $5 a month. Statuscoup.com/join. I don't know if Jen's available. I should have asked her, but I'm thinking we're going to do a members call tomorrow on this second bombshell story that I'm about to get into. So sign up if you want to be on that members call. Let me text her. Can you do members call tomorrow night? See how organized we are here. So the amazing thing about this is that was 2 months after he declared the water fine. Jen and I were knocking up and down Flint, knocking on doors because we were looking into water testing that was manipulated by Rick Snyder's environmental department. They were flushing residents' water lines before collecting lead and copper samples, which is against the EPA's regulations because it basically cooks the testing. It cooks the testing to get lower lead levels, and the media then ran with those lower lead levels, and it was declared Flint's water's just fine. That was in 2018. Let me show you a tweet from a young lady, Little Miss Flint. She's become a national and global sensation. She tweeted out that video I just showed you. This: if my younger siblings and I happen to touch unfiltered water, their skin gets awful rashes. You should see my little brother's arm right now from the constant hand washing. When did she tweet that? Today. The water is not safe in Flint. By the way, the water is contaminated in Detroit as well. By the way, the water is contaminated in Milwaukee. The water is contaminated in Pittsburgh. The water is contaminated in East Chicago, Indiana. The water is contaminated in parts of North Carolina. The water is contaminated, I'm starting to see and getting reports, in Denver, Colorado. The water is contaminated in a lot of parts of Florida. I could keep going down the list if you'd like me to. Parts of Massachusetts, parts of the Ohio River Valley, West Virginia. So, shockingly, and by the way, keep smashing that like button. YouTube is suppressing us. It's right under the video. The thumbs up. We need every single person to press that thumbs up. Please, please, please. We got to get this to more people. So this is not just a Flint story. And by the way, what I'm about to show you, this is not just a story about contaminated water. This is a story about contaminated government. This is a story about corruption. This is a story about white privilege. That's right. Wealthy, good-to-do white government officials disregarding a poor black and poor white community. This is a story about the media, because the reason this continues to go on is because the media doesn't give a shit. Excuse my French. The media, oh my God, I can't wait till I write a book just about the media. Because the media, do you know that CNN's, whatever he is, their media reporter said to me, yeah, it's too bad, a lot of local stories are being not being covered right now because everything's Corona. The biggest environmental catastrophe of the 21st century is a local story. Us breaking the actual cover-up that led to that environmental calamity is a local story. Where the hell is Michael Moore right now? Where the hell is Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib right now? Where the hell is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez right now? Where the hell is Senator Bernie Sanders right now? Where the hell is Congressman Ro Khanna right now? Where the hell is Congressman Dan Kildee, who represents Flint, Michigan, probably counting his money from private business and donors who want the Flint water crisis to be over? Bad for business, having a water crisis in Flint. Wait for my next story. Where the hell are Alyssa Milano right now, who has shared Flint stories in the past? I'm not calling them out because you're hurting my feelings, because we're not getting retweets. You're not hurting me. You're not hurting Jen. You're hurting that 1-year-old baby who's got rashes all over her because she bathes in the Flint water. By you being silent, Michael Moore, it's his birthday today. You know how many times I've contacted Michael Moore's producer? They told me He's just been busy. He's got a new film coming out. I said, I'm not asking for a dissertation. I just want him to tweet something. He's from Flint. I sent the story in little bullets, so they don't even have to read the whole thing if they don't want. Jen and I have proven that the former governor of Michigan was warned of the dangers of the Flint River, allowed it to go forward. Jen and I found out. Snyder found out about the deadly Legionella outbreak that has killed as many as 115 people. He found out about it in October 2014. That's 6 months after the water switch. You know when he told Congress, under oath, that he knew? January 2016. That's 16 months later. You know when he found out about Legionella? Guess what? Guess what was coming up in a few weeks? His governor's re-election. Guess what he was starting to angle for? Running for president. Where are all these people? Where is the congressman from Flint, Dan Kildee, who I found out, Dan Kildee, who takes a whole lot of money from a lot of private interests that my reporting indicates kind of want this water crisis swept under the rug, can't really draw new business investment to gentrify cities like Flint if there's an ongoing water crisis. He's silent. Do you know I sent his office, Congressman Dan Kildee, by the way, since we're naming names, I sent his office in November 2018. I sent his office our story that broke that Snyder's office was manipulating the water testing, would not publicly say a word. Do you know how I got him to say a word? Months later, when I cornered him in a public library in Flint and got him on camera. He'll never go on camera with me again. Where's Senator Debbie Stabenow representing Michigan? They all have this information. And by the way, I don't want to hear a damn thing that people are busy with the coronavirus right now. Guess what? The Flint water crisis and the coronavirus are very, very connected, which I'm going to explain to you in a little bit. Guess what? All you got to do is tweet something. Rashida Tlaib's people have gotten back to me days ago. They have it. I don't know what's up. She's up for re-election. Could that have anything to do with it? I don't really know. I don't understand why it's such a heavy lift for all the progressive warriors out there to tweet something. I don't need you to tweet it for me. You don't have to retweet my tweet. But guess what? In this sick media system that we live in, a lot of times the media will only cover corruption if politicians or celebrities react to it. You know that the Detroit News, since we're calling out names, and some people are going to say, Jordan, stop, they're not going to cover it. You know what? They're not covering it anyway. You know the Detroit News, which by the way, basically wrote press releases for Governor Snyder's administration for 6 or 7 years. The editor-in-chief got back to me saying, yeah, a lot of this that you reported has already been out there. So I wrote back pretty respectfully. I've done a couple Google searches. I haven't found that Governor Snyder's right-hand man being secretly subpoenaed and interviewed. Yeah, that wasn't out there. I didn't find anything about Governor Snyder's chief of staff being secretly subpoenaed. That wasn't out there. I didn't find anything about Governor Snyder's state treasurer being secretly subpoenaed. That wasn't out there either. It also wasn't out there that Snyder was warned 1 year before the water crisis about the dangers of the Flint River. Never out there. Certainly wasn't out there that Snyder was found out about Legionella 16 months before he testified to Congress. It also wasn't out there that the former Flint mayor on the record saying Governor Snyder asked her to get Elijah Cummings, the late congressman and chairman of the Oversight Committee, to back off from investigating him. I confirmed it with 3 other sources that Mayor Weaver told them at the time that Snyder asked her to get Elijah Cummings to back off. Governor Snyder didn't respond. He didn't dispute it. It wasn't out there that Governor Snyder's right-hand man, his top advisor, his best friend from all accounts, how it was described to us, his fixer, was literally going around identifying the sickest and most publicly loud Flint residents and allegedly paying them off to quiet down and be less of a threat to Snyder. None of this was out there. Yet the Detroit News tells me, oh yeah, we're looking into it. Yeah, keep looking as people continue to die. Maybe you'll cover it when everybody's dead. Detroit Free Press, they don't even get back to me. I'm learning so much about the corruption in the media. It's really on par with the corruption in the Democratic and the Republican Party. It's sickening. And I just want to know. I understand if you're, somebody like Michael Moore. You don't want to be defined as Flint, You have other interests. You're a filmmaker. You care about Trump and the election and all that. But I've heard him speak for the last 6 years. He's always been talking about is Governor Rick Snyder belongs in jail. We just broke a story on potentially criminal activity. He's silent. Also, he could promote a new documentary, which doesn't stop him from tweeting about this. So you want to know something? If what I'm saying makes him mad, if he finds out about it and he doesn't want it, then that shows he don't give a damn about Flint. None of these people care about anything but what's right for them. Because I got news for you. For those of you who have said, Jordan, you're only covering Flint. This is not just about Flint. I think that's what people really, really don't understand. This is not just about Flint. How do you think things like this happen in Flint? How do you think? Because there is a controlled demolition of the American middle class, or whatever's left of it, by Republican and Democratic vultures in office that are bought off by corporate America, private foundations, I'm learning. And those vultures have produced legislation that send your jobs to other countries, that elevate and reward gentrification, and leave communities like Flint that used to be the economic engine, General Motors, the auto industry, leave them rotting as a deindustrialized corpse. And that allows for privatization efforts, mass gentrification, and for reckless decisions like switching a water source without the equipment to properly treat the water. And if you think it's only happening in Flint, I got news for you. It's happening everywhere. It might not be switching the water source, but people are being contaminated by government decisions, government negligence, and government corruption. And right now, the government is screwing people. You know that if you want to connect Flint to the coronavirus, maybe that's the only way they'll give a damn. Let me read you the end of this story, and then we're going to get into this story we broke today, because we obtained exclusive audio showing Governor Snyder's right-hand man attempting to pay off a sick Flint family, and oh, by the way, lying about what and when the governor knew about the water crisis. Do you know that Flint is part of Genesee County in Michigan? Flint is about an hour north of Detroit, and it's part of Genesee County. The numbers are probably different because I published this hours ago, but Flint has been hit particularly hard by COVID. Genesee County, of which Flint makes up 24% of the population, has a 10% fatality rate from COVID. You know, America's fatality rate is 5.4%. Again, this was this morning. Maybe it's a little lower. Maybe it's a little higher. So Genesee County, which Flint makes up a quarter of, its fatality rate is almost 5 percentage points higher than America's. Flint's cases of COVID in Genesee County make up 40% of Genesee County's cases. When you add in Flint Township, which not all of Flint Township, but a lot of parts of Flint Township was on the toxic Flint River, it goes to 50%. 50% of Genesee County, when you add Flint and Flint Township, 50% of Genesee County's COVID cases are Flint and Flint Township. Even though Flint only makes up 24% of Genesee County. By the way, mostly poor black area, of the 405,000 residents that live in Genesee County, only 2,834 residents have been tested. That's 0.6%. And by the way, that's going on everywhere. There's not enough testing, particularly in poor black, poor white, or poor Latino, and certainly Native American reservations don't have testing. So when I see on Twitter or elsewhere, and thank you for the super chats, keep them coming. Anthony, hey, from Detroit, y'all rock stars. Thank you. Jonathan Silva, £5. Some people need a problem more than the solution. Capitalism is the pandemic. Thank you for never giving up on Flint from Glasgow, Scotland. Appreciate it. Thank you. I agree. Thank you, Eddie Thalson, $10. Status Coup, great work. Appreciate it. Mike Blair, $50. Woohoo! $50 for since I pissed everyone off the other day. What'd you do, Mike? I don't remember. What'd you do? I'm too busy to even get pissed off. Well, I am pissed off, but not by you. Thank you for the 50. That's really helpful. Cecily, $5. Jordan, thank you and Jen for expressing our rage for us. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing. Give me a wee bit of hope. I appreciate it. John Coyne, $10. Get Papi Cholim on and tell Jimmy to get him on also. I'll get on that. And by the way, folks, if you came late, because YouTube is certainly hiding us once again, we just passed $95,000 on GoFundMe. So if you came late, we are pushing our GoFundMe again. We hit our goal of $85,000 months ago. After that, we didn't really mention GoFundMe because we were really focusing on our membership. Right now, we're at 1,880 members. So we've definitely lost some members because of people losing their jobs, all that stuff, which, obviously makes plenty of sense. We get it. So we raised our GoFundMe goal to $110,000. That will keep us afloat while we can't travel right now, obviously, during coronavirus. We are hoping, Jen and I have been speaking, we're hoping that we're getting close enough to being able to hire another, at least part-time staffer to handle a lot of the marketing, social media, so Jen could do more reporting and writing and research. We also are hoping to be able to hire another reporter because it's damn hard for me to do live streams every day and investigative reporting. So obviously we get it. If you're tight, if you've been laid off, don't you worry about it. If you got a couple bucks, definitely hit us at the GoFundMe. We'll be doing our live streams on Sunday as long as I keep recovering at this pace from Corona. You remember those good old days, Sunday marathon GoFundMes. So raise the goal to 110,000. So we got about 15,000 to go. Is that 15? Yeah. $15,000 to go. So keep it coming if you can. Let me put the link in there because Jen isn't in the super chat. All right, so let's get to this story today, and then I'm going to get back to naming names and shaming people because I enjoy it. Swirly Swirl, $20. I asked this to David Dole. Would you please either talk about or interview third party, Green Party, or other candidates on the ticket? David immediately shot the idea down. He got a bunch of pushback at his live stream. I will, but I've been a little busy, so I'm happy to interview other third party people. I myself, you do whatever you want. I'm probably not voting for Joe Biden. I think I'm just going to vote for whoever I want. I'm in New York. I think at this point, I don't know if you saw the reporting today, Joe Biden is getting economic advice from Lawrence Summers. Remember Lawrence Summers? Bill Clinton era? Big Wall Street guy, repeal Glass-Steagall, deregulate the economy. If this is who Joe Biden wants to surround himself, fuck you, Joe Biden. I'm not voting for you. Sorry. I hate Trump, but I'm not elevating corporate warmongers. I'm not elevating those people. So you do what you want. Totally get it. If you live in Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Florida, swing states, you do what you want. But I live in New York, and I'm not voting for Joe Biden because he's not giving the progressive movement a damn thing. And you want to know something? At a certain point, if you keep voting, welcome new Status Coup member, Eric. Woo! And yes, we are demonetized because I've been cursing up a storm. So definitely hit us in the super chat or GoFundMe. We're now at 1,881. Welcome, Eric. And by the way, Jen said yes. So tomorrow night, we will be having our members only call to discuss this breaking story. Hell, I've been live for like a half hour. I haven't even gotten to the damn story. You see, when I don't go live, I just have so much to make up for. I'm just ranting. So, all right, let's get to this story here. So, as part of the bombshell that Jen and I broke a week ago for Vice. We appreciate Vice printing the truth. And by the way, shockingly, in America, get this, you can break that a former governor knowingly lied about when he knew about a deadly water outbreak that killed as many as 115 people. You could prove that this governor was warned a year before that water switch. You could prove that this governor's top advisor and, by all accounts, fixer, we were told, was going around paying off Flint residents to quiet down and not be a threat to the governor and their PR efforts to declare the water crisis over. Hell, you could prove that the governor's right-hand man silenced one of the few whistleblowers in the Snyder administration who was pleading with them to switch Flint off of the Flint River 6 months after the water switch, more than a year before they ultimately did switch. You could prove all of these things, and the Detroit Free Press won't cover it, the Detroit News won't cover it, the New York Times won't cover it, MSNBC won't cover it, Washington Post won't cover it, CNN won't cover it, Daily Beast, BuzzFeed, Politico, The Atlantic, who am I missing? I mean, The Hill, well, The Hill did, Rising with Crystal and Sagar did, so I appreciate that. Thanks to them. Jimmy did, thank you. You know, my old stomping grounds, Young Turks, what are you doing? You don't even have to mention my name if there's a beef here. But at one point you cared about the people of Flint. I don't know why you're not covering it. You don't have to give me credit. But there's a lot of outlets. Democracy Now! Covered it for 20 seconds. Thank you for that. Unfortunately, it really is because the media is littered with New Yorkers and people from D.C. who are very, very out of touch, and frankly, half the day are on Twitter, boosting their Twitter following instead of giving a damn about anything important. That's why this news stays completely silent. So, after we broke that story, about yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, we obtained audio of a meeting from 2017. So the audio, let me start with something to set it up here. In January 2017, Adam Murphy, a sick Flint resident, he was having seizure. He was having seizures. He was having severe cognitive loss. He was losing. When he was driving, he would be forgetting his normal route, how to get places. He had to call his wife at the time to pick him up. The water had ravaged his body and his mind. He couldn't even lift his newborn kid anymore. He couldn't walk up the stairs. He had to sleep in the living room for 2 years because he couldn't walk up the stairs to his bedroom. Okay? Adam Murphy, like a lot of Flint residents, understandably lashed out at a Flint water town hall in January 2017. If you haven't
Yes.
Once Governor Snyder left.
You're wasting our time and we're dying. People have died from this damn water, and all you guys can sit up there and just pretend like it's no big deal.
So Adam, it was much longer than that. He really went off, and a police officer removed him from that town hall. And, I've been to a bunch of Flint town halls, a couple hundred people show up. The residents were understandably angry and upset because the government was really not significantly helping them. Residents were getting sicker and sicker. They had to fight just for Medicaid expansion that is no longer even there. They had to fight to get the service lines replaced, and the only reason they got those service lines replaced was because several plaintiffs, including Melissa Mays, who's featured in my story, went to court and sued Rick Snyder in the state of Michigan because they wouldn't spend the money on their own to replace Flint's service lines, and got a $97 million judgment. So, after Adam Murphy was removed from that town hall, he was removed by a police officer. A police officer told him, I could try and, maybe get you in touch with Governor Snyder. It was a state trooper. So Adam was like, okay. I reviewed text messages between this police officer and Adam's wife. They're divorced now, but at the time they were married. And this police officer set up a meeting with Adam, his wife at the time, and Richard Baird, who was Governor Snyder's, best way to describe it is right-hand man. If you live in Michigan, if you were in Michigan politics, everybody knew Rich Baird was basically an extension of the governor. They were college roommates. They were best friend. Rich Baird was in retirement and came out of retirement in 2010 when Snyder won election as governor. And Governor Snyder paid Rick Baird, very controversially, out of his super PAC. He wasn't even on the governor's official payroll through the state for years until, people started kicking and screaming over it. So Richard Baird was kind of known as the governor's, it was described to us as his enforcer, his fixer, whatever synonym you want to put in there. So Richard Baird, weeks after Adam was popping off, and it wasn't just Adam, there was several, it's like Standing Rock. When you have really a movement, most of whether it's governments, corporations, try to identify the leaders of that movement that inspire other people, that rally other people, and they try and eliminate them or neutralize them. So Rich Baird shows up in Adam Murphy and his wife's home, and let's go piece by piece here, okay? Let's go piece by piece. I'm going to play you a few audio clips because we obtained audio of the meeting. Let's start here. And by the way, this whole thing, which I'm going to explain, is not just about the Murphys. It ain't just about Governor Rick Snyder, and it's not only about Flint. What you're about to see is corruption that's happening all over this country. Here we go.
I mean, I know people see it differently, but at the top levels, at the governor's level and in his office, we knew, I know people see it differently, but at the top levels, at the governor's level and in his office, we knew there was a problem with the water, but all the answers we were given were, we got it under control, we just have to treat it this way, or we do this thing, or we do that thing. And it really wasn't until when Mark Edwards and Dr. Mona were, that publicity was there, that's when it was clear that the water's not just stinky and discolored. It was discolored when I drank it. When I was 7 years old, you had to let it run for, I don't know if you guys have lived in Flint all your life, but back when I was a kid, my mom always said, you gotta let the water run for a couple of minutes because it kind of came out orange. And but then we realized that clearly, it's toxic. It's not, it's not just bad water. I know people see it differently, but
So hopefully you could hear that. The audio is a little low. But he says to him, we were told by the experts that the situation with the water was under control. That, the water had some problems, but as long as they were going to just tweak the formula and treat the water differently. And if they just treated the water differently, everything would be fine. That's what he just told this sick family. Most journalists tippy-toe around these words. I'm not going to. That is a bold-faced lie. The governor's right-hand man in 2017 was in this couple's living room, and he lied to them, and they lied to Flint because they were warned repeatedly. 6 months after the water switch. 6 months after the water switch. And we're going back here, okay? October 14th, 2014, okay? 6 months after the water switch. There was a whistleblower in Governor Snyder's administration. Her name was Valerie Brader. She was the governor's environmental attorney, an environmental expert. She graduated magna cum laude from Harvard. In English, super, super smart. Graduated magna cum laude from Harvard. She graduated with her master's from Oxford University, another prestigious university, and she got her Juris Doctor at Georgetown University. This is a brilliant woman. She was Governor Snyder's environmental attorney. She sends an email on October 14, 2014 to Governor Snyder's chief of staff and to several other top officials in Governor Snyder's administration. It says, it's basically begging and pleading for them to switch Flint off of the Flint River and to move Flint back to the Detroit water system, which Flint was on before it switched to the Flint River. She called it an urgent matter. She said the Flint River is teeming with E. coli as well as cancer-causing TTHMs. Governor Snyder's chief of staff, Dennis Muchmore, took Valerie Brader and put her in contact with Governor Snyder's right-hand man, Richard Baird, the guy whose voice was just on that tape. Valerie Brader was sent to a conference call meeting with Richard Baird and Darnell Early, who was Flint's emergency manager at the time. Remember, Flint had an unelected emergency manager put in by Governor Snyder. That unelected emergency manager had more power than the elected mayor and the elected city council. But Russia's stealing democracy, right? Not us. So on that conference call, Valerie Brader publicly testified that she reiterated the same things to them that she said in the email. She said, this is an urgent public health crisis. And they told her it would cost too much to switch Flint back to Detroit. What we didn't know, what Jen and I found out, was Valerie Brader, in addition to her public testimony, was secretly subpoenaed. She was compelled to come in for what they call an investigative subpoena, which is basically like a one-on-one interview with a prosecutor that's not public. In that interview, she broke down in tears, and she revealed that the governor's right-hand man, that guy who was just telling the Murphys, yeah, we were, all the experts told us the water situation's under control. All the experts told us we just need to treat the water differently and it will be fine. Nobody told us it was toxic in the early days. That Governor Snyder's right-hand man threatened Valerie Brader. Basically said, don't ever send another email like that again. The warning email about Flint. It's an urgent matter. Flint needs to be switched off the Flint River. Put this in your mind for a second. Richard Baird just told the Murphys that when he was 7 years old, he remembers how gross the water was in Flint. His mother used to have to run it for a while before giving it to Richard because it came out orange. So, state of mind, when this Harvard graduate, magna cum laude, environmental advisor, she's not the janitor, folks. No offense to janitors. She is an expert. She's telling you, the governor's right-hand man, she's telling the governor's chief of staff, she's telling the Flint emergency manager, who's basically the mayor, that he's got more power than the mayor. Iceberg, here now. People were getting rashes at the time. People were losing their hair. She's saying urgent matter in writing. Chief of staff, why does the chief of staff pass her off to the governor's, again, fixer? I want to tell you what Jen and I were told, who this man is. And some of the sources are anonymous because some of the sources were not authorized to speak. So you're just going to have to trust us. We trust the sources, and these sources know a lot about the investigation. That's all I could say. Hold on, if I could find it. Nah, it's not working. We were told that Richard Baird is an old-fashioned fixer. His MO was to coerce and threaten and basically do whatever he had to do for Snyder. So why is it that if you have someone pleading to switch Flint off the Flint River, an environmental expert, why would you send her to the governor's enforcer instead of to the environmental department or the health department? Just think about that for a second. Is this somebody you actually wanted to hear? That you wanted to hear her thoughts? That you wanted to actually see? Well, is there anything to this? Or is this somebody you wanted to shut up, silence, eliminate the problem? He threatened her, told her never to send another email again like that. And by what we found out, she went away. She wouldn't talk to us. She cited the criminal investigation for why she wouldn't talk to us. But most importantly, she didn't dispute any of this. Richard Baird didn't dispute any of this. He didn't even respond. Governor Snyder didn't dispute any of this. I wonder why. Could it have anything to do with the fact that the statute of limitations to file new charges in the Flint water crisis, new misconduct in office charges, which is a felony, is Saturday? 2 days. Could it have anything to do with basically running out the clock? The Attorney General of Michigan, a Democrat, doesn't like me, probably, after these two stories. She came in January of last year. She fired the chief investigator of the Flint water crisis. She fired the special prosecutor. There was like a Robert Mueller type in Flint. Fired him. And then a couple months later, she dropped all of the charges. There was 8 defendants, 2 of which were the top officials in Snyder's cabinet. Nick Lyon, the head of the health department, and Eden Wells, the chief medical executive. She dropped the charges, basically threw the former prosecutor under the bus, saying his case was so flawed we had to drop the charges. She didn't explain why. She didn't give any details. Just trust us. By the way, I don't really know that guy. I don't know the former prosecution team. All I know is 2 of the top state officials, after a year-long pretrial, were switched over. 2 judges ruled they have to face involuntary manslaughter charges against a jury. So, common sense, how flawed could the cases she dropped have been if 2 judges ruled these 2 defendants are culpable enough to face jury trial? She dropped those charges. No charges have been filed since. And by the way, Adam Murphy, he recorded this meeting with Richard Baird. Adam Murphy gave the Attorney General and her prosecutors this audio that we obtained and published today. She gave it in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 8 months ago, they've had this audio. 8 months ago, they first got this audio, which shows many things, but I just showed you, shows the governor's enforcer essentially lying about when they first found out that the water was toxic. He's lying. Then there's this.
I've now spent enough time with the Genesee County Medical Society and the docs that make up that board, and even people like Larry Reynolds and Dr. Mona. And I didn't know this, but the Genesee County Health Department is laughable. Okay, it's laughable. They basically say, look, we can't depend on these guys to get anything out on a timely basis. We don't trust them. They actually ask us to do some workarounds so that we didn't have to rely on the county health department and have stuff go directly from the state. Instead of going to the health department, go to the medical society. And that's not the way this stuff's supposed to operate, but that's part of the problem that you have. And I'm being very frank. I've now.
So let me explain how local and state level government and federal government works, for that matter. Hold on. Oh, by the way, thanks. Keep those super chats coming. Robert, $5. Everybody get involved in local issues, as what is happening in Flint is happening in other cities in America. You damn right. Anthony, $5. The people of Michigan abolished emergency managers by referendum in 2010, and Jennifer Granholm, CNN pundit, overturned our vote and reinstated it. Oh, Jennifer Granholm's not innocent here either. Shocking. And wait till my part 3 comes out. Not imminent, but we got plenty of information on current media darling and current Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. You're not going to be surprised, I don't think. Thank you, Anthony, $2. Nestle, GM, Quicken Loans, and Little Caesars equal Michigan tax breaks. Did I miss any others? Blah, 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 blah. And definitely, if you can, leave a super chat. Thanks for the GoFundMes. Let's see. Anthony, Lawrence, Seth. We're now at $95,045. We did raise our goal, so hopefully, if you got a couple bucks, you could throw it in the GoFundMe. Let me put it in the super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, Jolene, we got a Patreon too. We're moving and shaking and grinding and making. So, Rick Snyder, the governor's right-hand man right there, says, to tell you the truth, the Genesee County Health Department, again, Flint is part of Genesee County. Flint's the city, Genesee County is the county. The state throws the county under the bus. And we saw this with Flint and other places. The EPA threw the state of Michigan under the bus. The state of Michigan threw the EPA under the bus. This is what everybody does because they don't want to take any responsibility or face any prison time themselves. It was the feds. It was the state. It was the city. It was the county, because these all are cowards. They're all cowards. So it's ironic that Richard Baird, the governor's right-hand man, is saying Genesee County Health Department is laughable and all these things, because on October 17th, actually, let me just find it for you so I can show you that email. Hold on. Still the one, and about you tie. Still the one, and I can't die. You're still having fun, and I'm still the one. Here we go. So here's an email, October 17th, 2014. Again, 6 months after the water switch. Susan Bohm, who is a state epidemiologist in the health department, emails other officials in the health department. Remember, Rick Snyder told Congress, I found out about Legionella January 2016. I'm pretty sure October 2014 is a little bit earlier than January 2016. Susan Bohm from the health department. I just received a call from Michigan Department of Environmental Quality Chief of the Office of Drinking Water, Leanne Schechter-Smith, about a call that came into her office from that laughable, remember he's called the Genesee County Health Department, laughable, from the Genesee County Health Department regarding Legionnaires in Genesee County. Fortunately, I had Shannon Johnson's great summary. Shannon Johnson was another state epidemiologist who had sent an email days before that saying her hypothesis was the Legionella outbreak is because of the Flint River switch. Leanne, the state drinking water chief, was concerned this was a situation just breaking. So I was able to tell her it had been under investigation by the Genesee County Health Department for several weeks. She was concerned that we were going to be making some announcements soon about the water being the source of the infection. So I told her the Flint water was at this point just a hypothesis. She asked whether Genesee had the capability to test water, and I replied that we would be working with Genesee to coordinate any water testing. What she did share with me was interesting, that there have been numerous complaints about Flint's water, that the governor's office had been involved. Let me say that again. That the governor's office had been involved, and that any announcement by public health about the quality of the water would certainly inflame the situation. Guess what was coming up a couple weeks later, after October 17th, 2014? Rick Snyder's re-election as governor. Isn't that interesting? You know, with COVID-19, particularly in wealthy areas, they warn you right away. You are warned right away. Of course, Trump waited too long to warn the masses. But most of the time, if you're in a wealthy or upper middle class area, if there's a health hazard, you'll know about it pretty quickly. But, if you're in a poor black area or a poor white area and there's a deadly water outbreak, Legionella is deadly. It's like a science project. We have time to hypothesize here. We don't need to share with the residents to warn them to stop drinking the water while we figure out what it is. Why do that? We got all the time in the world here. They're just poor people in Flint. We don't even live in Flint. The people writing these emails, the people making the decisions. Can you imagine that? They had an outbreak for months of a deadly waterborne disease. and they said nothing. In fact, they didn't tell the people. They didn't tell the people for another 16 months. And we found out that around that time that email went out, Governor Snyder, his top officials, and state health department officials were all in communication. A lot of communication. What were they talking about? What were they talking about? A lot of communication between the governor, his top advisors, and the health department. They're talking about the weather as emails are going around and phone calls are going around about Legionella. He goes and tells Congress. I didn't know about Legionella until January 2016. Why is it that he asked, according to her, why is it that the governor asked former Flint Mayor Karen Weaver, can you ask Elijah Cummings when he was alive to, quote, back off from investigating me? I don't know. If I didn't do anything wrong, what do I care? If you look wherever you want, I didn't do anything wrong. But he's asking the Flint mayor, happened to have been an African-American woman, to ask the chairman of the Congressional Oversight Committee to back off. You do the math. Let's keep going.
So Adam, I want to repeat this. I'm not making any promises.
No.
We're here to try to learn as much as we can and figure out if we can put our heads together and figure out a way to get some relief, get some resources, and help. Okay. Otherwise, you know, there's no sense in. I mean, but I want you to know we're going to try. I mean, we frankly, the four of us, we wouldn't be sitting here if this were just for show. I mean, we really, we know that, you know, and BJ's told us that, you know, to me, it no longer matters whether it was the water or anything else. What matters is that you've had some significant hardships here, and if we are in a position to help you, we should help you. It's, to me, that's that simple. So,
Great.
but we got some work to do, because look, I don't make up these rules, and I think most insurance companies are, you know, we just had our budget director go and work for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I got a couple of chits with him, so maybe I can use one of them to help you, okay?
Never heard. I don't know what a chit is, but okay. So that audio might sound very lovely, but is he there to help, or is he there because that Flint resident raised holy hell at a town hall, got removed, the Flint Journal and the Detroit News picked it up, I think it got a lot of views on YouTube, and as a result, he wanted to have a little chat with that resident. What you didn't hear there is they did find money to pay for Adam's very expensive holistic treatment. It's called chelation treatment. It puts chemicals into your body to extract lead out. They paid for it for almost 2 years. The state of Michigan did, because I saw the text messages between Adam's wife and the state health department, and I saw forms that they were paying for Adam's treatment. Now, I don't personally hold anything against Adam or his wife for accepting it. If you are having seizures, if you're losing your memory, if you can't function cognitively at 36, 37, I think he was, and you got the governor's right-hand man in your home offering you treatment, and by the way, saying you're going to be our lead poster child. If it works for you, we'll make it available to other residents. What would you do? I'd probably take it. When you're desperate, you're desperate. But what was really happening here, and people in the know about the Flint water crisis, is that 500 pounds in the super chat? Is that 500 pounds? Jacqueline, oh my Lord! London Bridge is calling. London Bridge is calling. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. That is unbelievable. Thank you, Jacqueline. That just made my day. And that keeps us reporting on places like Flint and other places. And yes, I did hear somebody ask, Jordan, are you going to do something other than Flint next? Of course. Don't hold it against the journalist that we actually stay on important stories for several years. That's what you're supposed to do as a journalist. Nobody else does. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. That is very, very generous. Please email us at info@statuscoup.com so I could personally thank you. That really, really helps a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the truth is, Richard Baird went to Adam Murphy's home, offered him state-funded treatment to shut him up. We could toss the word allegedly there, but it really isn't allegedly because I've seen the payments. This is what happened. Now, you could say, well, Jordan, how could you definitively say it was to pay him off? Well, you tell me, why is it that both Adam and Christina Murphy both say he told us not to talk to the media, and he told us do not talk to anyone, that the state was paying for it? If you got nothing to hide, if this isn't a hush-hush payment, why are you telling them don't talk to anyone about it and don't tell anyone that the state's paying for it? And oh, by the way, which we also found out, why is it that you're going around telling other people that you're a philanthropist? Wait till you find out this. It gets crazier. Listen to this. This is my conversation with Flint resident Bruce Steers. When he told you that he was paying for Adam's treatment, did he say anything else? Why is he doing that?
Not really, just, that he was paying it out of his own pocket and trying to help him out. And I thought, well, I don't know what all that is, but that's awful generous of you, because I heard that, the treatments were, pretty expensive.
Did you believe him?
But it was relative to that chelating treatment.
Chelation.
And as I said, I was under the assumption that it was the whole family. And then his wife told me that, no, it was never the whole family. It was just her husband.
Right. And
so I don't know how that come, and all of that. But he made a lot of, appearances in different places. And, he was pretty convincing of all the things that were going on anyway.
Did you believe him when he told you he was paying for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And, I had no idea what, Richard Baird was being paid, through by the governor, but I guess it was a considerable amount of money that was being transferred to him to be here.
Would it surprise you if the state was paying for it and he told the family, don't tell anyone the state was paying for it?
Oh, no, would it surprise me? Nothing would surprise me at this, point in time, because I know that, with my reason for getting with him and discussing, things that we talked about was in trying to, bring some kind of resolution or solution to, how we're going to, get rid of this crap out of these people's houses and out of their, out of their bodies.
And did he give you the impression when you met that he has a lot of pull, a lot of authority?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Matter of fact, I've been told by, several colleague friends of mine that, if you were talking to him, you were talking to Snyder. So there was nobody closer, higher up the ladder in the chain than Richard Baird when it come to, and that's when, in our conversation, he shared with me that, him and the governor had been college roommates and had, a long-term established friendship and business friendship.
Pretty interesting. Show up at Adam Murphy's home after he raises hell at a Flint town hall, offer him state-funded medical treatment. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars for this treatment, because you also have to pay for supplements in addition to the actual IV chelation. tell the family, don't pay, don't tell anyone about it. By the way, told the wife, Christina, wonderful person, by the way, told her, we'll offer you treatment when you're done breastfeeding. But shh, they never gave her treatment, by the way, or anybody else in Flint, like they told them they would, if Adam's treatment worked, which, by the way, I'm not a doctor. I don't know if it works for everybody, but I can tell you it worked for Adam. His blood lead levels went way down. His seizures disappeared, and his cognitive functioning got a lot better. But do we believe here that the governor's right-hand man was just willy-nilly freelancing around the city of Flint making these deals? Because, by the way, our Vice story, which you should definitely read if you haven't read it yet, we found other residents that the governor's right-hand man offered special deals for, special treatment, and it certainly wasn't philanthropy. It wasn't coming out of his pocket. And those residents, it all seemed to have a pattern. They were the loudest, rowdiest people. They talked to the media. They raised hell at town hall meetings. Somehow Richard Baird always ended up meeting with them. And I asked Christina, Adam's ex-wife now, did Richard Baird say anything to you about the governor? Was he just there on his own? Let's take a look.
Because I knew I was going to have to find a way to fix myself.
And let me ask you, because while you were still married to Adam, if they framed this to you in that meeting as, if we start seeing progress in Adam, we'll make it available to other people. My understanding is, I'm not a doctor, so I don't really want to advocate or not advocate for it. But from what your experience was, Adam started feeling progress relatively early. Like the seizures were getting better.
Yep.
His cognitive problems were getting better. And you guys were communicating that to them, correct?
Yep.
And
yeah, we were.
So obviously they then made it available to the rest of the Flint, right?
I wish that were true, but nope, they just kept giving us the runaround.
In your impression, was Richard Baird there on his own? Or was Governor Snyder aware that his top advisor was meeting with families like yours and making these kind of deals? Did he say anything to you that made you think Governor Snyder knew?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He said he was going to go back to the office and run this by him. I remember that very clearly. I don't know if it got recorded or not. I don't have any, I can't get my hands on the audio, but
because you guys did record the meeting.
Yeah, we recorded the meeting, and so there is evidence of the meeting if they want to deny it. There's also evidence in my email and evidence in my phone and evidence spread all over the place. So,
And by the way, I just want the audience to know, and then we'll move on to the lead abatement. Attorney General Nessel could say whatever she wants, and her office could say whatever they want, but they know about this because I brought it to them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I've spoken to the Attorney General's office about the whole thing, and that's a work in progress, I guess. Yeah. I haven't heard anything.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted the audience to know that he said I don't know if he did tell the governor or he didn't, but it seems kind of far-fetched to believe a top advisor to the governor is going around Flint having these meetings and kind of by everything I've heard, making offers to pay off very loud residents without the governor knowing.
No, the governor knew, because he wouldn't say the governor's my best friend since grade school, and I'm here. I'm pretty. I don't want to second guess myself, but I know that he said he was going back to run this by Snyder, but I don't remember when he came in the door if he said, I'm here on the behalf of Snyder.
Right.
But I know when he left, he said, I'm bringing this to Snyder and see if I can get this pilot program going.
And didn't he describe to you, how did he describe Snyder?
As his best friend.
Okay.
If I may, I would like to just say, Cheryl, Richard, Scott, you made a promise to a family to let me and my kids not die and you haven't returned my phone calls, and why not? Why haven't you told Governor Whitmer about my family and about the other families in Flint that you were going to help? And why is it okay for you to just forget about us and leave us here to die? I really would like to know why you guys didn't return my phone calls and why you left me and my kids here to die.
Looking back, do you feel that Governor Snyder's right-hand man paid you off? Or was trying to pay your family off?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, if it wasn't with money, it was with health, but yeah.
Yeah. And I want the audience to understand. I mean, I'll tell you the
And
truth. If,
I didn't get the health though.
but if I were you,
Uh,
I've been to Flint.
having brain tumors recently. What else? And and then Adam would work with us, and then
And my wife is not feeling good, and the government's in my living room saying we'll pay for your treatment. I would take it too. I think people on the outside sometimes judge, but if you're not in that situation, and by the way, if they say like, if they're stroking your humanity and saying you're going to be the face of Flint, if it works for you, we're going to make it available to everybody. Well, I would feel like, wow, maybe something good could come out of this. You didn't have any reason to think they were lying to you at the time. I don't think.
No, we didn't. We didn't think they were lying to us at the time. But we didn't trust anybody really at the time. So we were excited, but with pause.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this really going to happen? And it took a long time to find a doctor that would actually work with us. And then, and then Adam was just getting worse and worse and worse. So it was like a race against time. Just like recently, it was a race against time for me because my symptoms were getting worse and worse and worse. So I had a stroke, like the week we were talking, the first week we were talking. I've had the shakes myself, the tremors myself, the sweats during the day or at night. I was down to 99 pounds at one time. I did gain some weight back. And my brain cognitive function was going downhill quickly. I couldn't think of small words like, the and is. I was missing words. I still am missing words when I'm talking. And the pain, it's caused rheumatoid arthritis that does not run in my family. And the pain is every day from sun up to my sleep, through my sleep. I get up 5-6 times a night, just excruciating pain in all of my bones and my brain. I have frontal lobe damage. They call it microabrasions because they discovered white matter in the front, and they believe that is caused from basically the heavy metals cutting up my tissues in my brain. And it's called microabrasions because basically they're floating around and they're just causing these little tears in the tissue. And so until that stuff is properly pulled out, you're probably going to see an increase in like brain damage, brain tissue, tumors throughout the city, things of that nature. I have heard actually a few people having brain tumors recently. What else? I mean, it's a long list.
Well, I remember because, I've been to Flint a lot, like at least 15 times in the last few years. And several of those trips, I spoke with you at your house, just doing follow-up reporting. I found out about this quite a while ago. And I remember one time I left my laptop there. I don't know if you remember that. So I had to come back to get my laptop. It was probably like 9 o'clock at night. And you opened the door, and I just remember you were having like heart palpitations, it seemed. And I don't live in Flint, so I'm not living with this day to day. And I said, do you need to go to the hospital? I didn't know if you were having a heart attack or something. And you were just like, no, this happens like every day.
Yeah, I get this. I'm glad you brought that. I'm glad you're on the facts. I do get this pain in my chest, and I am worried that it could the attack could happen again and give me a stroke or a heart attack that could take me out. So I'm very, very careful of how much energy I expend every day.
You know, we obtain confidential documents as part of this story. We obtain documents from the criminal investigation. So we found out that Richard Baird, the governor's right-hand man who was in your living room offering you this treatment, he said to the special prosecutor that Flint residents, quote, blame the water for everything from bunions to sore throats to a pimple on your butt, okay? Then he said, I probably shouldn't have said that on the record. What's your response to Richard Baird?
You don't care about us, and you obviously are okay with not returning my phone calls and leaving me to die with that kind of statement, because I never had any of these problems before the water, and now I have a ton of problems. I didn't even take one prescription before the water except for prenatal vitamins to have children. And now I'm on 15 different pills, some prescriptions and some supplements, and I'm getting 5 more pills added to that. And for you not to care, to say something that horrible, it just proves that, to me, common sense, that you're just guilty of just wanting to go around and cover it up in the first place.
Do you think he and Governor Snyder should be prosecuted?
Oh, to the fullest, both of them. They know what was going on. Anybody that helps cover up this situation is helping murdering people.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. So I played that a little longer because I really want you to understand, you know, the media just goes with headlines. It just reports bullshit that they're fed. Oh, the water in Flint is better. It's meeting EPA regulations. They don't do the hard work to actually go on the ground and see if it's true. And more importantly, how are the residents in Flint? And East Chicago, North Carolina, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, fill in the blank. It ain't just water, uranium, poisoning Native Americans, arsenic. Denmark, South Carolina has a massive water problem. West Virginia, you know, coal, poisoning people, the mines. It's disgusting. And by the way, once more, and, you know, a lot of people don't get it. The Attorney General of Michigan, a Democrat, has had the audio and that woman's story, her family's story, for since July. They first became aware of this in July of last year, so that's almost a year. And they've had the audio since September. No charges. Saturday is the statute of limitations. So 2 days, the statute of limitations to file felony misconduct in office charges. Felony misconduct in office charges related to the Flint water crisis. The Attorney General and her team put out a statement the day after Jen and I broke the Vice story. I think it was kind of meant to confuse people, saying that the statute of limitations isn't Saturday. I mean, that's not what they told Flint residents last year. They told Flint residents just last year. She said the new prosecution team has as little as 9 months to bring additional charges. This was in June because of the statute of limitations. Lawmakers in January in Michigan pushing to extend the statute of limitations, which is in April. So I don't really know what they're talking about, but based on Michigan law, the statute of limitations is on Saturday. And they haven't charged anyone. In fact, they dropped all the charges. I got more audio to play, but I really ask you, where is Michael Moore? If you came to this late, I asked that earlier. Where is Michael Moore? He was on Stephen Colbert the other night on MSNBC, I think. He's pushing his new documentary. Our original story came out 7 days ago. He has it because I spoke with his producer several times. I keep getting, oh yeah, he's gonna do that. He's just busy. Yeah. Maybe he'll tweet after the statute of limitations. Maybe he'll tweet next year. Maybe he'll tweet when he could take credit for it. Because it seems that a lot of influencers, a lot of celebrities love getting involved when they could get a little of the action and the credit. But apparently not when they can't. I don't know Michael Moore from the hole in the wall. I've interviewed him once. I really like Michael Moore. Love his documentaries. I love Roger and Me, Fahrenheit 9/11, Fahrenheit 11/9, Capitalism, a Love Story. Hate to say this stuff, but we can't just close our eyes and not call out our own. It is shameful. Shameful. Because Michael Moore, it's not just me who's been reaching out to him. It's leading Flint activists that have his direct contact. He has this. You want to know why he's not tweeting about it? In my opinion, because he's best friends with Congressman Dan Kildee of Flint, who happens to be corrupt. Stay tuned for my part 3. The congressman that represents Flint is corrupt. He takes a whole lot of money from private foundations, real estate, and those private foundations and real estate, from my reporting, don't want a water crisis in Flint anymore. It's bad for business. Why do you think Governor Gretchen Whitmer, the new hot name to be Joe Biden's vice president, when she was coming in, she promised Flint she'd reopen the free water pods in Flint, which the residents depend on. She's been in office almost a year and a half now. They're shut. According to Flint Mayor Karen Weaver, former Flint Mayor Karen Weaver, when she tried to get help from Governor Whitmer told her, sorry, can't help you. The legislature has Flint fatigue, was the quote. That's what Weaver says. Governor Whitmer didn't respond to us, didn't dispute it either. What a leader that Gretchen Whitmer is, Well, they have Flint fatigue, nothing I could do. I can't open my mouth. I can't fight for poor people. Ring a bell to what's going on in Congress right now? No, we can't do anything. We can't fight for poor people. We just got to accept whatever we can get. Democrats basically surrendering right off the bat. By the way, there should have been, from the beginning of this coronavirus pandemic, a strong push and a demand for a moratorium on mortgages, on rent, on student loans, on utilities, on business loans, you name it, a moratorium. A lot of other countries have managed to do it. Or Congress should have covered at least 80 to 90% of company payrolls. We have the money. They print money for war. They print money for tax cuts. They print money for all sorts of things. They have the money to cover people's salaries. All of this is a choice not to do it. They could have fixed Flint 5 years ago. They could have declared a disaster, because they didn't declare a disaster. They declared a state of emergency. That's not a disaster declaration. A disaster declaration is federal, and that brings in the Army Corps, and they could have dug up all those pipes and had it done in a year or 2 years. It's what they would have done in a nice white place. I promise you that. So Flint is all of us. It ain't just about Flint, folks. And I stay on it because, you know what? I don't think journalists, as a journalist, no. I'm not neutral to people being poisoned in America. I'm not neutral to people being poisoned and then left to die after. And if you are neutral to that, you should pick a new profession. I ain't neutral to children forgetting the alphabet. I'm not neutral to children forgetting letters and numbers. I ain't neutral to children and adults having wild mood swings because of the lead, crime going up because of the lead. I'm not neutral to people who have been poisoned having to scrap and claw to get any medical care, and also fighting the city and the state from putting liens on their homes for not paying their poison water bill. No, I'm not neutral to that. So the traditional dinosaur journalists can say whatever they want. They could say, oh, he's not a real journalist. You're not a real journalist because you're not covering this. By the way, what Jen and I found, I'm not saying it was easy to find. It took a lot of work. We've probably interviewed at this point over 100 people in Flint. I've been there 15 times. But it has been much harder to actually get media to pick it up after the fact. Where are you, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib? Has had this for 7 days. Where are you, Congressman Ilhan Omar? Where are you, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who loves tweeting all day, shitting on Tucker Carlson and all these people? That's great. Wonderful. How about you tweet about the biggest environmental cover-up of the 21st century? Hey, maybe there's something I don't know about. Maybe you don't like me. That's fine. Then take my name out of it. I don't care. I'm not doing this for credit. The Congressman of Flint, Dan Kildee, silence of the lambs. Who cares that the Republican governor was warned a year before the water switch? Who gives a damn, right? Who cares that he allowed it to go forward anyway? Who cares that he perjured himself? That he knew about Legionella 16 months earlier? That he didn't do anything while lives could have been saved? His inaction, when he found out, people died. That ain't my opinion. That's a fact. 115 people, as many as 115 people, probably a lot more died and were wrongly classified as pneumonia rather than Legionella. Who gives a damn, right? Ro Khanna, Tulsi Gabbard, Ayanna Pressley, Joe Biden, maybe. Where are all the resistance warriors, you know? I remember, hey, Anat, you remember when that comedian dropped the mic and said Flint still doesn't have clean water? Michelle Wolf. I'm not calling her out because I haven't been able to figure out her damn contact. Maybe she didn't see the story. But I saw on Twitter that night, oh my God, everybody's a Flint water warrior for 5 minutes. Oh, Flint doesn't have clean water. Hashtag this, hashtag that. Those same people. Silence. You know, Brian Stelter of CNN told me, sorry, this is a local story. Local story. You know, just people being poisoned in America and left to die. Rachel Maddow, you know, deserves credit. She brought it to light in the first place. Hey, maybe if I could get Putin involved, maybe if I could prove that Vladimir Putin was part of the cover-up, she'll be all over it. You know, it's disappointing, it is, because truly, and you want to know something? I had a text message yesterday. I'm not going to name who because there's no need to blow up her spot. I had a text message with a celebrity the other day who has shared our stuff in the past. And they told me I can't amplify this right now because I don't want to risk funding for Michigan having to do with coronavirus. Maybe if you join the members call tomorrow night, I'll tell you who. Hint, hint. statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low, get this, for as low as 16 cents per day. 16 cents a day. That's $5 a month, by the way. We're now at $1,881. Excuse me, $1,881. Excuse me, Corona Brain. 1,881 members. Members call tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific. Be there or don't be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I just would love to know. So this celebrity says this to me, and I said, what congressman or journalist told you that absurd bullshit? Because I'm starting to find out, honestly, Madonna, you think I have Madonna's number? I wish. Like a virgin. No, I don't have Madonna's number. I found out that literally the congressman that represents Flint is telling people not to share this story because that congressman is corrupt. He's bought off by private foundation money, by private business money, and those private foundations that line his pockets and those real estate developers that line his pockets, they don't want the water crisis to continue in Flint. It's bad for business, i.e. gentrification. So I nicely said to this person, first of all, whichever politician is telling you this bullshit has his own motives. If you tell me which politician, I'll tell you what their motives are. Secondly, that makes zero sense. First, it doesn't make any. First of all, Trump hates Rick Snyder because Rick Snyder wouldn't endorse him. So it makes zero sense that this celebrity endorsing the story or tweeting about the story would affect Michigan at all. So people don't realize a lot of celebrities, their involvement in politics, they get a contact, either the congressman from the state or city that they're doing activism around, or the senator or whomever, and they don't know, or they don't look into who their donors are. They don't know that they're corrupt. This is the hidden secret of America. Your congresspeople are corrupt. There is congressmen right now actively trying to bury this story. There is a journalist at the Flint Journal, I say journalist loosely, that is also trying to bury this story. A journalist trying to bury a corruption story. It's truly remarkable. But if the story wasn't corrupt enough, the governor's right-hand man silencing whistleblowers, going to allegedly pay off Flint residents, if that's not corrupt enough, then you better hold on and buckle up, folks, because I'm about to blow your world. This is like mafia stuff, what I'm about to show you, okay? So there's a resident. His name is Bruce. I'll show you a quick clip. This is from when I was at the Young Turks. I just want to show you a clip. He used to walk around with a big pipe. He used to walk around with a big pipe that was corroded inside. So let's take a look at that pipe. Being a Flint citizen right now, just as an American citizen, when you grew up, I'm assuming you thought this was a democracy. I don't know what you think now, but is it important to you that Snyder be charged so that in general, the government becomes accountable again? Because if he's not charged with this new information. So you saw the pipe sitting there on the table. The inside of the pipe, that's one of the screws. That's the inside of the pipe. That's what water was going through in Flint. Who knows what those pipes look like now? I have no idea. Give you another one. That's what water was going through in Flint for 18 months. So Bruce, Midwest guy, lumberjack there, would bring that pipe around town, and he brought it to a town hall that Governor Snyder's right-hand man was at. I don't think the governor's right-hand man liked Bruce bringing around that pipe around Flint, raising holy hell, showing residents this is what you're drinking water through. So, Bruce, again, did construction for many years, asked the governor, can I meet with you? Because I have some ideas to end this water crisis, to fix things. Let's hear what happened. Oh, he brought the pipe to the meeting, by the way. So Bruce brought the pipe to the meeting with Richard Baird.
I talked to his secretary, Virginia there, and she said, well, I know he still has it because I'm sitting here at my desk looking at his desk, and it's sitting on his desk, and that's where it's been. And, it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, he didn't, wanted to respond to me. I had told him that when, he asked me if he could borrow them, that I'd like him to try to do something and, just take the contents of this thing out and have him break it down to its, minute particles and, tell us what's in this sludge that's in this pipe. And so it just, his big thing with me was, you had to convince me that the sludge in this pipe was a result of, all of that stuff flowing through, from the Flint water switch.
Do you think it's possible that he was asking you to give him that pipe, not because he was going to hand it to experts at the state to look into it, but so that you would stop showing this pipe around town and kind of take potential, I guess, evidence?
No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind at all. None whatsoever. Because if it wasn't significant, he wouldn't have, one, taken it with him. Two, left it on his desk. I can only take, his secretary's word. I called her, like I said, about 3 different times. It's hard to get a hold of, him, because unless he returns, the call back, even though I still have, I believe I may still have a cell phone number that he had given to me. It's probably still logged in. I have two numbers, I think, under him. One was in the home office of the secretary, and the other one was his personal cell phone. So, the only thing that I ever, got from the discussions of anything else past that is that, he was holed up in Bath, Michigan in some house, and, he was missing his wife, and blah, 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 blah. So, he got paid quite handsomely, quite well. He rolled me, he bowled me over, so I was just trying to, bring attention to something I thought was, this is physical evidence, and, you're the guy,